Namaste, Haribo. Welcome to Yoga Kirtan Hawaii's program tonight. I'm your host, Bhagavad-gita, and I'll get there. So our program tonight is going to sound not doing very well. I'm wanting to check on Facebook that everything's going okay, but anyway, we won't worry about that. I will just it's all right. So welcome to Yoga Kirtan Hawaii. You can find us at yogakirtanhawaii.com and obviously on Facebook and Instagram. And Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is a Hawaii, or Oahu, the island of Oahu, Hawaii-based organization. And we offer programs, classes and events, including Hatha Yoga, Kirtan, meditation classes, and we used to offer vegan dinners. Haven't seen one of those for quite a while now. And hopefully, well, who knows? Who knows? We'll just wait and see. So all events that Yoga Kirtan Hawaii offers are either donation-based or free. And we're currently holding regular events on Facebook Live. And you can visit the Facebook page for more information and for our calendar. So Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is the outreach arm of another organization known as the Science of Identity Foundation. And the Science of Identity Foundation was founded by my spiritual teacher, Jagat Guru Siddhasarupananda Paramahansa. And and Jagat Guru is a disciple of His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And they're coming in a long line of spiritual teachers, which is known as the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. And this word Sampradaya means a lineage, so a lineage of spiritual teachers, and it also means a tradition. So this is a great spiritual tradition dating back many, many thousands of years, and indeed to the very start of time. So it's a wonderful, Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is passing on a wonderful spiritual tradition, which I and others are very hopeful that you will take advantage of and appreciate. So the program that we're having tonight consists of, once I finish my brief introduction here, we'll have some Kirtan, and then I'll give an introduction to the Bhagavad-gita, and then I'll give a Bhagavad-gita class. And so we should be finished around sometime between 8 and 8:15, something like that. So we're going to be doing Kirtan, and Kirtan is the chanting of transcendental sound, vibrations, or sacred sounds, or what's known as mantras. So a mantra is a Sanskrit word comprised of two parts, man and tra. So man refers to the mind, and tra means to draw away. So a mantra draws the mind away from this temporary material dimension and places it onto the eternal spiritual dimension. So these mantras are very much like a lifeline. Like this material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and we're like swimming in this material ocean, and coming to us is these transcendental mantras that are like a lifeline being thrown to us from the spiritual world. And so we can grab hold of these mantras just like a lifeline. Like if we're in the ocean and we're we're unable to swim, and we feel like we're drowning. Maybe we're about to go under at any moment. And then the Coast Guard comes along and throws us a lifeline, and we grab hold of it, and we, won't let it go, right? Because we know it's going to rescue us or save us from this predicament that we're in. And so similarly, these transcendental mantras that we chant as part of our Kirtan are just like that. They're a lifeline that can pull you out of this material world and transport you to the spiritual world. And so they're also a little bit like transcendental waves. Like Hawaii is a great place for surfing, either down on the South Shore or out on, of course, most famously on the North Shore. And you can ride these wonderful waves, these wonderful material waves. But similarly, these mantras, these transcendental sound vibrations, are like transcendental waves that we can ride. And we can ride all the way back home, back to the spiritual world. So the mantras are the names of the Supreme Person or words spoken by Him or about Him. And we will be chanting the Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana, Mohana mantra. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana, Mohana. And so at this time of anxiety, let's put that aside and focus on the mantras. Rest your heart and mind in the transcendental sound. Take shelter in these transcendental sound vibrations. And Kirtan is done in a call and response way. So a person leads, and then we all listen, and then we respond. So my wife, Radhisham Dasi, will be leading, and I'll follow, and you can join in with me. And so we'll do Kirtan now for around 15 minutes or so.
Welcome everyone, nice to see you here with us. And hope you'll like to join in with us, it's going to blow away, I think. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Namaste. Haribo. Thank you very much for chanting with us, or performing Kirtan, or doing Kirtan with us. So I'll just grab a short drink. I had a bit of a busy Sunday and just finished mowing the lawn, quickly prepared for this class, had a shower, and it was time to start. So anyway, I hope you had a good day, a nice day. So before I begin to speak on Bhagavad-gita, first I'd like to offer my respects unto my spiritual teacher, Jagaguru Sudasarupananda Paramahansa, whom I mentioned is a disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And they're coming in a long line of spiritual teachers, a spiritual tradition known as the Brahma Madhva Gauriya Sampradaya. So I offer my respects to my spiritual teacher. And I also would like to offer my respects to all of you. Thank you for watching, either watching now or watching later. Thank you very much. I hope you will consider what I have to say and take it within your mind and heart, contemplate upon it and consider it, and hopefully perhaps find something that I say that might be of inspiration or encouragement to you in your journey of life. So Bhagavad-gita. So Srimad Bhagavad-gita. Srimad means beautiful. Bhagavad refers to Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. And Gita means song or hymn. So the Srimad Bhagavad-gita means the beautiful song of the Supreme Person, or the Bhagavan. And Bhagavan means he who is full of all opulences. So the Srimad Bhagavad-gita is a yoga text and forms part of the ancient Vedic literatures of India. So Bhagavad-gita is comprised of 700 Sanskrit verses. 574 of them are spoken by Krishna. And this and the others are spoken by his friend Arjuna, and some are spoken by Sanjaya, who's a spiritual teacher to Dhritarashtra. And anyway, a few other verses are spoken by others, but the vast majority of the Bhagavad-gita is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna is asking questions and Krishna is answering. And sometimes Bhagavad-gita is known as Gita Upanishad. And so Upanishads are one of the Upanishads are one of the ancient Sanskrit literatures or texts, also comprising part of the Vedic literatures. And there's 108 prominent Upanishads. And this word Upanishad means to sit close. Upa means to sit close. And so an Upanishad is a discussion between a spiritual teacher or a spiritual master and a disciple or student who is making inquiries into the absolute truth. And so this making of inquiries into the absolute truth is actually the most important thing in a person's life. So in a work known as the Vedanta Sutra, which is like the summary or essence of all the Vedic literatures, the very first sutra or mantra is Om Athato Brahma Jignasa. So Om Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time, Athato, to inquire, Jignasa, Brahma, into Brahma, or the absolute truth. So this is the very first verse, and this is the very beginning, in a sense, of spiritual life, when a person begins to make inquiry into what is the purpose of life. Why am I here? Why am I suffering? Why am I experiencing the threefold miseries? Miseries caused by my excuse me, miseries caused by my body and mind, miseries caused by other living entities, other people. They're always causing different difficulties and hardships for us. And then and this includes social problems and so on and so forth. And then the third kind of hardship is natural forces, hurricanes, snowstorms, and so on. Right? These are the threefold miseries: miseries caused by the body and mind, miseries caused by other living entities, and then miseries caused by natural forces. And so we should be inquiring into, well, what is this purpose of life? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? And so the Upanishads of ancient India, which Bhagavad-gita in a sense is considered an Upanishad, is an inquiry into this absolute truth, into Brahma, or the absolute truth. So an inquiry into the nature of life and the purpose of life. And so Bhagavad-gita is a series of questions and answers between Krishna, who is acting as Arjuna's spiritual master, and Arjuna, who is acting as the student or disciple. So, at the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, Arjuna becomes like he surrenders to Krishna and asks him to please instruct me. He becomes an empty cup. Previously he's been a full cup. So to speak a little bit about who Krishna and Arjuna are. So Arjuna is a great warrior, one of the five brothers known as the Pandavas. And so this Bhagavad-gita is part of a much larger work known as the Mahabharata, which actually consists of 100,000 verses. It's a massive work, bigger than the Homer's works of the Iliad and the Odyssey, the ancient Greek classics. It's longer than, if those two works are combined, then the Mahabharata is 4 times as long as the combined works. And the principal story within the Mahabharata is the struggle between the Pandavas, these 5 brothers, of which Arjuna is one of them, and their cousins, the sons of Dhritarashtra, headed by a person known as Duryodhana. And so it was a dynastic struggle which between 2 sides of the family, the Pandavas on one side and the who are known as the Dhritarashtras on the other. And it's a struggle as to who will be the emperor, who will be the ruler of ancient India. And so the rightful heir was Maharaj Yudhisthira, Arjuna's elder brother. And so the Mahabharata is the story of a struggle between these 2 sides of the family, these cousins. And ultimately it despite efforts to resolve it peacefully through all kinds of traumatic experiences for the Pandavas, finally it came down to that there was going to be war, a climactic struggle. So a large portion of the Mahabharata is discussions on about how to avoid this war, and then the inevitability of this war, and then despite all the efforts, this war is going to begin. And so at the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, Arjuna he's on a chariot, and this chariot is being driven by his friend and brother-in-law and cousin, Krishna. Krishna had, although he was also a kshatriya or a warrior, he had declined to take part in the war, but he said that he would act as a charioteer, and Arjuna asked Krishna to be his chariot driver. And so this is actually a nice analogy, because sometimes the body is compared to a chariot, like this gross physical body is compared to a chariot, and we, the living entity, are like the passenger in the chariot. And the horses are our senses, and the reins is the mind, and the chariot driver is generally seen as the intelligence. But so here in this analogy, it's like Krishna becomes the driver of the chariot, and he gives us the intelligence and steers us in the right direction. So this is a nice kind of analogy. But the Bhagavad-gita, of course, is not, and the Mahabharata, they're actually histories, like the Itihasa, the Mahabharata is known as an Itihasa, which means a history. And so this struggle, this fight at the Battle of Kurukshetra, is a factual event. It's not an analogy or something as some commentators on Bhagavad-gita try to say it is. So anyway, so Arjuna is on his chariot, Krishna is his chariot driver, the armies are lined up on both sides, and Arjuna asks Krishna to take his chariot into the middle of the battlefield so that he can see who's gathered here to fight. And so Arjuna looks out, and he looks upon the opposing side, and he sees all kinds of different grades of relatives and friends. And in particular, he sees his grandsire or grandfather Bhishma, whom he has just this wonderful relationship with, full of respect and love, and also his military teacher, Acharya. So in particular, on seeing them and seeing all his cousin brothers and seeing all different kinds of grades of relatives and friends, Arjuna just becomes overwhelmed with compassion. His limbs begin trembling, his mouth dries up, his hair begins to stand on end, his skin is burning, his body begins trembling, his mind is reeling, and he's crying hot tears. So Arjuna just becomes overwhelmed with compassion, and he just doesn't want to engage in this battle of Kurukshetra. He just doesn't want to do it. And so he begins to explain to Krishna all kinds of reasons why he doesn't want to engage in this war, why he doesn't want to engage in this fight. And Krishna, basically listens as Arjuna gives all his different explanations and reasons. And Arjuna has actually quite good sounding reasons. One can hear them and think, oh, that's a pretty good reason. So Krishna hears all the reasons, and then finally Arjuna, it's kind of like, how it becomes if someone just gets really excited and upset and they just spew it all out, right? And, all you can really do is listen, be empathetic and listen, and show that you're listening so that the person feels they're being heard. So anyway, so Arjuna just gets it all out there, and then Krishna has the opportunity to speak, And he chastises Arjuna. Because Arjuna is a warrior, and everyone on the army that he is on is counting upon Arjuna to lead them in this battle. I mean, on the opposing side, there's 11 Akshauhini divisions. Akshauhini division means, big, large number of soldiers. There's elephants, and there's chariots, and there's foot soldiers and archers, and all in this Akshauhini division. And on the Dhritarashtra's sides, there's 11 divisions, and on the Pandavas' side, there is 7. So 11 to 7. So that's like 1.5 times as much. Actually, a little bit more than 1.5 times as much. And so Arjuna is like a counterweight. So even though there's 11 Akshauhini divisions here, and only 7 here, this 7 includes Arjuna. And so Arjuna is like the counterweight. So like you've got it like this, but because 11 versus 7, 11 up here and 7 down here, but because Arjuna is here, then it becomes in equilibrium, and if not even a little bit tilting this way, because Arjuna is such a great, phenomenal warrior. He has all kinds of military abilities and skills, and he has all kinds of weapons that he's received throughout his life and his different journeys and struggles, which are explained within the Mahabharata. So anyway, so Arjuna is this counterweight. So Krishna begins to chastise him that, hey, what are you doing, Arjuna? You're acting like a coward. You're behaving in a way that's anarya or non-Aryan. Not noble. Everyone is counting on you, and here you are talking about not fighting. You're sitting down here crying in front of all the armies, in front of your opponents, and in front of your own army. And this is a bad thing. It's a terrible thing. An awful thing. So Krishna chastises him. This sort of sets Arjuna's mind like reeling even more. And then finally Arjuna surrenders. He becomes an empty cup, and he says to Krishna, Sishyaste aham sharimam tvam prapanam akshraya shan nishitan bruhitan me. So just instruct me what is the most auspicious thing for me to do. I'm a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So this is how we should be. We should become humble like this. We should be like an empty cup, wanting to hear. We approach somebody who knows the truth. We don't approach someone who doesn't know the truth. It's not like we go and just, if we're experiencing a difficult situation, we're not sure what to do. Oftentimes people will just go and talk to someone and say, well, what do you think I should do? But actually they don't care what that person's going to say. They don't really care. They just like getting an opinion. Yeah, give me your opinion, and then maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Or the person gives their opinion, and then they say, oh no, I don't like your opinion. No, your opinion sucks. So this is the nature of material relationships often, right? Like oftentimes the wife will ask the husband, well, what do you think I should do? The husband will give his opinion, and the wife goes, nah, I don't like that opinion. So this is the nature of material relationships in this world. So anyway, so approaching a spiritual master is not like that. As I said, like the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, or the Brahma Sutra, is Om Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire into the absolute truth. So if you want to know answers to the purpose of life, like who am I, why am I here, why am I suffering, what's the goal of life, what should I be doing with my life? These are very serious and weighty questions, and you have to go to someone who has the answers. You don't just go up to anyone and get their opinion. Oh, what do you think? Oh, what do you think? What's your opinion? What's your opinion? No, you seek out a bona fide teacher or spiritual master, someone who knows the truth and can impart it to you because they have seen the truth. We don't just go to anyone. So Arjuna came to this realization that he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what was best for him. So then he turned to Krishna and surrendered to Krishna and asked him to instruct him. He became an empty cup, ready to hear. So then in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna begins in chapter 2 in a sequence of verses from beginning with text 11 through text 31. So for a sequence of about 20 verses, Krishna just explains to Arjuna the basics of, or the ABCs, so to speak, of spiritual life, like the very sort of foundational teachings that a person who's wanting to find out what is the what I should be doing with my life, what is the right thing to do. Krishna gives the basic foundational understanding that's required for them to make further progress on these, understanding the answers to these questions. So it's a very apt discussion. Obviously, the discussion between Krishna and Arjuna is taking place on a battlefield, and so we can look at this and we can consider that, life is like a battle. I mean, it is. It's a constant battle. Like, it's a battle to the struggle for existence. Sometimes it's called, or the struggle for survival. The never-ending sort of conflict or struggle to get enough money to get a place to live in, to get a house, to get a car, to get a good job, to get a good wife, to get, to have children, to not get divorced, to beat illness, to, it's just a constant struggle, and then there is, political struggle and political conflict. And so just a constant source of trouble, constantly having to make decisions, what I should do with my life, what I should do today, what I should do tomorrow, what I should do next week, should I go to school, not go to school, should I get a degree, not get a degree, should I get a trade, should I marry this person, should I not, it's just all these constant decisions that we have to make, and it's almost like a battle or a fight, right now, the struggle for existence. So anyway, as we are in this struggle for existence, we can appreciate that, in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna gives, at the very beginning of Bhagavad-gita, after Arjuna's finally calmed down and got to the point where he's saying to Krishna that, Krishna, I don't know what to do. The struggle is so intense, it's just too much for me, I don't know what to do. Please instruct me. So then we should take note, very careful note, of what Krishna says to Arjuna at the beginning of Bhagavad-gita. I mean, he could have said anything, but of course he chose to say what he said in particular. And so in these beginning verses of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna sets out the ABCs of spiritual life, but of who you are. So like this first question that we're asking that, as you know, an Almathato Brahma Jignasa, now is the time to inquire into the absolute truth. It's like the first kind of question we seek answers to is, who am I? Who am I? You know, because we kind of, you know, who am I? Who, you know, am I this material body that just lasts for 50, 60, 70 years? Is that who I really am? You know, so Krishna begins to explain to Arjuna that we're not this material body. We're not this gross physical body comprised of matter. So this gross physical body is comprised of flesh and blood and bones, and you know, it's all inside our skin, you know, which is like a big leather bag holding it all in there. You know, all the flesh and the blood and the bones, and you know, and the hair is growing out of it. So this is the gross physical body. And we also have a subtle material body, and this subtle material body is comprised of the mind and intelligence and false ego, and it's very much like a stream of mind stuff. You know, it's like watching TV or watching a movie. You know, there's just this stream of, you know, when you're watching a film, right? And it's just one little frame. I guess they don't really have frames anymore, but I'm not quite sure what they have now. I think they still use frames, but I don't know. Anyway, it's like one sort of frame after another, or one scene after another, and it just sort of flows before your eyes. And so there's the subtle body of this that we have is like a stream of mind stuff, just like watching a movie. There's just like, you can actually sit back and watch your mind and be aware of all the different thoughts and feelings and emotions that are flowing by. And this is actually a helpful meditation technique or mindfulness technique that one can do to realize that I am the watcher of my mind. I am the viewer of my mind. I am not my mind. You know, I'm not this stream of mind, constantly changing stream of mind stuff. You know, one moment a good thought, next moment a bad thought. You know, so you are not the subtle material body, and you are not this gross physical body comprised of flesh and blood. So, you know, the answer to the question of who am I is that you are spiritual in essence, and this is what Krishna describes in these beginning verses of Bhagavad-gita. He describes that for the embodied, for the soul, that there is neither birth nor death. In fact, Krishna uses a large number of different words to describe the soul, the spirit soul. So he describes that the spirit soul is eternal, nitya, and sanatana, is ever existing, that the soul is indestructible, it is imperishable, it is immeasurable. Right? The soul is described in some of the other Upanishads as being 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. You know, in other words, it can't be measured. It's immeasurable. And yet, the soul permeates this whole body through consciousness. Consciousness is the symptom that the soul is present in the body. If someone is conscious of the body, like, you know, I can touch, or I can feel that, you know. So I am conscious of my body, and this is a symptom of the soul. As soon as the soul leaves this gross physical body, it's like, well, you know, you can grab the person's dead hand and put it on the other hand, and like nobody feels nothing because there's nobody there. the soul has left the body, so there is no consciousness in that body anymore. So the soul is conscious. This is the symptom of the soul. In the presence of the soul, there is consciousness. So this is the symptom of the soul. So the soul is immeasurable, is unborn. The soul, Krishna says, the soul does not come into existence, has not come into existence, and will not come into existence at any time. The soul is ever existing. In fact, in the second verse, chapter 2, text 12, that Krishna says to Arjuna is that never was there a time when you, nor I, nor all these kings present here did not exist in the past, and never in the future shall we cease to be. So we are eternally existing. We are unborn, right? So even though this body is born and the soul takes birth, or rather the body takes birth, the soul doesn't take birth. The soul is unborn. It's immutable. The soul cannot be changed. It doesn't change. The soul is unbreakable. It is insoluble. Can't be dissolved. It can't be burned, nor can it be dried. The soul is everlasting, present everywhere. There are souls everywhere throughout this material world. And eternally the same. The soul doesn't change. You don't change. You're eternally who you are. Not this temporary personality that you have, or this temporary identity that you have as a particular person in a particular body, and seeing yourself in connection with this body, that's who I am. Like I'm a 60-something male. I'm a businessman, accountant. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm Caucasian. I'm whatever it is. All these identities that we have in relationship to this body are all temporary. At the end of this body, all of it is finished, right? It's temporary. But you, the soul, are eternal. And so the couple of verses that I actually wanted to read from Bhagavad-gita, which they explain a little bit this process of what this means, to be eternal, but to have a temporary body. Okay, so what does that really mean? How does this work? So Krishna explains very early on here in Bhagavad-gita that the process of reincarnation. So in chapter 2, text 13, Krishna says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, adhira, a sober person. So just as in this body, we pass from childhood, or we go from babyhood to boyhood or girlhood, to youth, and then maturity, and then to old age. So just as this process works, because you feel just the same. You feel just the same, no matter how old you are right now. You can remember back to when you had a very small child's body, and then you can remember the what you were experiencing and what you felt as you went through different stages of your life, depending on where you are in your life right now. Obviously I don't know what stage of life you may be in, but you go through these different stages of life and you feel the same. Well, that was me. But that body is completely gone. Every single atom that made it up has gone. Every single cell is gone. It's like every 7 years, it's actually less years that nearly everything has changed. But some of the 7 years is like a safe period of time for saying that every single atom and cell of the body has completely changed. And so Krishna explains that, so just as you pass through these different bodies or stages of life, then similarly the soul passes into another body at death. Right? So what happens when this body dies? You get another one. And then Krishna explains in chapter 2, text 22, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So this process of changing bodies that Krishna described in text 13, Krishna then builds on it further in this text 22, where he explains that actually, so why is a sober person not bewildered by this? Why does a wise person, the Pandits, why do they not lament as bodies are given up? As bodies die, why doesn't the wise person lament? Why isn't the wise person bewildered by this? It's because it's just like changing clothes, right? Like you have, and throughout your life, you've had so many sets of clothes. Who can even remember them all, Like I've had so many sets of clothes. And, you have them for a while, and then either they get worn out, which, is how things used to be in perhaps older times. More recently, it's because we're so influenced by fashion, because of the fashion companies make money when you buy clothes every year. If you just bought clothes and kept them until they absolutely wore out, then, this wouldn't be very good for business, right? But anyway, because we're also fashion driven, and I've got to have the latest thing, and I've got to look cool, whatever it may be, then of course I'm getting the latest clothes and the latest fashion. So anyway, as you get these clothes, and then it's like, oh, well, now I've got too many clothes in my closet, too many clothes in my wardrobe. I better get rid of some, right? I'll get rid of the older ones. Oh, that one's kind of faded, or no, this one's pretty old, yeah. Well, I don't like it anymore. I'll give it up. I'll get rid of it. So similarly, just as a person gives up old, worn-out clothes they don't want anymore, and put on new clothes, similarly, it's just like that with your body. As your body gets old and worn out, then at the time of death, you give up the old and useless one, and you accept a new material body. And this is a good thing, right? The body, it's not a good thing to stay in your body, depending on how healthy you are and how well you've lived your life. Old age is a time of great suffering and pain and hardship. And, so giving up your old body and receiving a new body is like a good thing. So we shouldn't, be all upset about it. Is essentially what Krishna is describing here. So anyway, so I'll wrap it up here. And, thank you for listening. Please take advantage of the, you can come and sit down if you want to. Yeah, please take advantage of the opportunities that we offer through Yoga Kirtan Hawai'i to engage in Kirtan, chanting the transcendental mantras and the names of Krishna, and engaging in this process of, you can turn it, engaging in this process cleanses the heart and mind, and will give you, enable you to actually achieve actual self-realization, this understanding that your spirit's in essence. And so please engage in Kirtan with us at Yoga Kirtan Hawaii. Please come to the different yoga wisdom classes that we have. Like there's a Bhagavad-gita class that we're giving today on the fourth Sunday of each month, and then also on the last Tuesday we give a soul journey, a yoga wisdom class. So that's this coming Tuesday, just 2 days from now, and then the following week I'll be giving another yoga wisdom class. So all events are posted on Facebook Live, and so please take advantage of the opportunity. So thank you very much. We'll have some more Kirtan now. Thank you.
Hare Krishna mantra.
Yeah, we'll sing the Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namaste.
Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again for coming and joining us. We appreciate it.